Octagon 24/7's podcast, MMA Fancast. It's MMA for the fans, by the fans. We talk about only the important things you want to hear.
Hey, this is Mike Goldberg, the voice of Bellator MMA on Spike. Join us right now for MMA Fancast.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 45 of MMA Fancast, brought to you by Octagon247.com. My name is Ryan Middleton. I am your host, and I am joined by my broski, my hero, oldest man ever, Jim Sahara Mooney. We got a lot of good UFC 216 action to talk about this upcoming weekend. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. However, with the tragedy that happened last night in Las Vegas, Nevada, overnight, Monday or Sunday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, I would be short, I just needed to mention this. It's on everyone's mind, and a very senseless and just a cowardly act that has left a wake of devastation behind it. And that is, last I saw, there were confirmed 58 dead and many others injured. And that's just, there's so many fights that come out of Las Vegas that I know that there's a lot of people within the community and just within that are affected by that. And so just wanted to mention that our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims of this heinous act. We at MMA Fancast here will be praying for those victims, and in light of that recent heinous act. So as hard as it is, we're going to shift the mood, and we're going to talk about MMA. We have UFC 216 coming up this weekend. It's a big pay-per-view. And as you'll notice, I only have Sahara Mooney with me today. And another thing I wanted to kind of ask our audience and our listeners to do is keep your thoughts and prayers with Andrew Dice Bailey. He has some personal things going on, and he won't be with us for some time. And so in light of that, please also keep your thoughts and prayers with him and his family as well. Moving on, UFC 216's happening this weekend. Jim Sahara Mooney, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 excitement level?
Well, excitement level, I would have to say I'm at a 10 out of 10. However, there's mixed feelings in this because this weekend is father-son camping weekend for me and Jakey. So I think the last time that I missed a UFC event or Bellator event, I think it was UFC, and I took my daughter camping. There was absolutely no cell phone service unless you went to the top of this hill. We were down in a canyon, and you went to the top of this hill where there were a couple cattle. There was actually some bulls up there that were very territorial. So I didn't venture up there to catch a glimpse of UFC, and I won't be doing it until I get home on Sunday evening, and I'll watch the rerun of it. But as far as excitement for the fights, two fights I'm stoked for. One is Ferguson and Lee, and the other is seeing Mighty Mouse, hoping that he, which, by all counts and everything we've seen, he's, not going to take Ray Borg deep into the night. It's, I think it's going to be a quick night, but I'm excited. I'm excited about a lot of fights on this card. This is one of a card that I really, really like the entire way through the card. There are many good fights on here, and I'm excited.
there's some young guns. Well, some of them are just Randy Couture young, starting their MMA career out on the later side. But this is a card I'm very excited about. I think there's lots of good fights. I think there's lots of solid guys I really want to see fight. One that comes immediately to mind is Lando Vannata, who has really impressed me in his 3 octagon appearances, although 2 of them are losses. One of them was on a short notice. He made his UFC debut on short notice against Tony Ferguson, and came in and gave Tony Ferguson all he could until he gassed out in about the middle of the second round. I think he took that fight on just a couple days' notice, so he was not in tip-top shape. But he has looked very impressive, has some dynamic striking. I'm excited about that fight. I'm excited about a lot of fights, and I want to kind of talk about, some of those fights. Even on the prelim, like the I want to say face.
Yeah, the Fight Pass prelim is a superb prelim. It's got to be, if not, I'd say one of the top 3 Fight Pass cards this year for 2017.
Yeah, outside of the opening bout, they're all fights I'd want to talk about. You have Brad Tavares, who is a very solid fighter, versus Thales Leites, who is also, he's up there in his years. He's past his prime. And he's had some battles, and he was once at the top of the food chain not too long ago, but I think he's taken a couple steps back. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights, but he's won 2 of his last 3. So that's good, but the competition, they've kind of scaled it down. He's gone from fighting guys like Mousasi, who were at the top of the division, to, Sam Alvey, who's a solid fighter, but not that same caliber. So that's a fight I'm really looking forward to.
Well, there's several on the Fight Pass prelims. We've got Mark Godbeer, which Andrew's been kind of high on Godbeer lately. We've been talking about him, I'd say, over the past month with some heavyweight and light heavyweight talk. And then I think the one that leads I apologize. I was thinking Pearl Gonzalez. I thought she was on the Fight Pass prelim.
Yeah, I think they're the opening fight on the FS1 prelims.
Yeah.
Or it might be an FXX prelims.
You know what? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either off the top of my head. I better figure that out by Saturday because I don't want to miss it. But yeah, you talked about Mark Godbeer, and he's fighting Walt Harris. This is a great battle. Mark Godbeer is a very solid guy, a very solid fighter. He's 1-1 in the UFC in his 2 fights. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, and he's just a very solid guy. 12-3 overall in his MMA career. And Walt Harris is proof positive that you do not have to win all of your fights to be to make money and to be at the at the top level in the UFC. He started his UFC career 1-3, and he has clawed his way.
Not impressive.
But he's gone out there and battled. He has been willing to put on a great show, and every single time he goes out there, he's putting himself out there. Hey, I'm going to either knock a guy out, but I'm willing to get knocked out myself, and I'm going to take some risks, and that's why the UFC stuck with him through that. And he's since pulled off 2 straight wins, and now he has his first UFC win streak. So
yeah, and he had a nice victory. His victory before last against Chase Sherman with the knockout. I think it was knees that ended it. I could be not recalling that correctly, but
chances are you're wrong. Yeah, my memory is not that good enough.
But he's 3-1 in his last 4 UFC fights.
Yep. 3-1 in the last 4. That is correct. Yeah, so he is a guy who I think can put on a show that makes for a great fight there. The other one I wanted to talk about is John Moraga and Magomed Bibulatov. Bibulatov, he is a quality grappler. He's undefeated. Most of his fights have been overseas. He fought for, I believe he fought for Bama. I'm not sure. I know he trained in France, and he made his UFC debut. He's 1-0 in the UFC. This is a guy who will get the takedown. He has great top control. He's not letting you off. If you kind of compare him to someone, he reminds me a lot of Nurmagomedov, where he's going to get the takedown and he's going to stay on top of you. He's going to stay active enough, and he's going to control you. Nurmagomedov might have a little more power in the guard, but that's the kind of fighter he is, where he is very solid on his feet, more solid, I think, than Nurmagomedov, but he will control you, and a very good wrestler, very good grappler, and also solid on his feet.
So this is where we need Andrew, where he can tell us what camp he fights out of, because I'm curious to know if he's in the same camp as the Eagle.
I think yeah, I can tell you that here in a second, at least according Fight Club Berkut in Russia.
That's cute. Is that what you said? It's cute?
No.
I tried.
You're not cute.
That's my kids think I am.
Fight Club, you're not cute. Okay, so there's that fight, which I think is a great fight. You got the Godbeer Harris fight, and then you move on to the Fox Sports 1/FXX, who we don't know quite yet. Pro Gonzalez versus Poliana Botello. So you're excited to see Pro Gonzalez. She's
the last time I think the first time we saw her is what I should say. She looked really impressive. She was the underdog, and I'm pulling up the stats. See if I can pull up the stats. But she had a big victory.
No, she lost.
No, her last one?
Yeah, against Cynthia Calvillo.
What?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the wrong stats. I apologize.
Yeah,
continue.
She lost that fight.
I do recall that now. Yes,
a third round choke. And so she's 0-1 in the UFC, 6-2 overall. She, I mean, outside of that one fight, seeing her, I don't have a very extensive knowledge of her. Poliana Botello is a Brazilian. She's 5-1. She's making her UFC debut. The interesting thing about her is that all 5 of her wins are by KO or TKO, and makes for an exciting fighter out of Brazil.
Yeah, I'm looking at that TKO decision and a loss, but everything is she goes for the finish, which those are my kind of favorite fighters.
I mean,
they're the ones I enjoy.
Her only non-TKO was a unanimous decision loss back in 2014. She has not been the most active fighter. As a matter of fact, she hasn't fought since 2015, but was actually scheduled to make her UFC debut at UFC 206, and against Valerie Letourneau, and had an injury. She had to pull out of the fight. So now she makes her debut here at UFC 216. Taking a look at the rest of the card, this card, I mean, I don't know how someone could not be excited for it. Next fight, you have Bobby Green versus Lando Vannata. I mentioned Vannata. I'm a big fan of Lando Vannata. He has he moves differently than most fighters. He's very smooth. He's very much in and out, and like is very I don't know. He just moves differently than most people. He has very dynamic striking. He does a lot of spinning back kicks and spinning back fists, and kind of switches things up a lot. Very fluid, and a very much a welcome surprise to the division with that shot against Tony Ferguson, and I've just been impressed with him overall.
You know what? He is similar to Dominic Cruz with a lot of head movement, but like you said, his movements are smooth and very fluid. It's like there's a natural progression in the way that he moves, whereas Dom, not to say that the two are calculated and you can figure out where the next move is going to be, but he's got a lot of that head movement and dropping the shoulders, and just makes it not an easy target for his opponents.
Well,
in general, because I know that Ferguson landed a few, and any other fighter, it seemed like they should have been rocked and on their butt, but he stood there and took it like a champ.
So yeah, he followed that Ferguson UFC debut up with a fight against John McDessie, and won that fight pretty quickly in the first round, and then he faced his first loss in the UFC, or no, actually his second loss in the UFC. He lost to Ferguson, to David Tamer, and he was a huge favorite over David Tamer. The buzz was strong for Lando Vannata, but David Tamer came in and he was equal to the task. Another guy that looks really good, and I'm excited about this kid as well. I think he has a very good future. He's 28 years old, 6-1, and fighting out of Sweden. So Tamer surprised everyone and got a unanimous decision win over Lando Vannata. Lando Vannata has since he has not fought since, so this will be his chance to kind of redeem that loss, and that's always scary when you have someone who's a dynamic fighter. So, do you want to start taking predictions on starting with this fight?
Yeah, let's get into it. This one is one of those fights that, if Vannata can keep that head movement and avoid punches and not stand there and show his bravado, I think his flash. He's got the. I think he threw was it him that I'm thinking of? Did he land the spinning elbow, the back elbow on Ferguson, or am I thinking of someone else?
I think he did. It was in the first round, I believe.
Yeah.
It was a spinning, and he had Ferguson like stunned a couple times in the first round. So, I think he's done a heck of a job to. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, he's flashy in a way that is not like these highlight reel moves sometimes we see out of Uriah Hall. He does it in a way that it's just part of his arsenal. I'm going with Vannata. Let me just put it there.
Okay. Where are you taking him? I have Vannata TKO second round.
That's what I was going to say. TKO second round.
Oh, well, how original. Okay. So I'm talking about Bobby Green. We haven't really talked about him just because I'm so excited about Lando Vannata. Bobby Green is really he needs a win here bad. He has 3 straight losses. He's a very solid guy. He has a lot of athleticism. He's very a gifted fighter. He just hasn't been able to turn the corner. He's kind of stuck in a rut. Now, he's also had a lot of injuries. If you take a look at what he's been scheduled to fight since he came, even as he exited Strikeforce when the UFC took them over, he's just had canceled fight after injury caused him to pull out of a fight over and over and over again. Going back to 2012, he was supposed to fight in a Strikeforce card against Jorge Masvidal. That entire event was canceled. Then in 2013, he was scheduled. He fought a fight in early 2013, and then he was scheduled to fight Danny Castillo. He had a hand injury, had to pull out. Then he fought 2 fights. He was scheduled to fight again at UFC 169, had to pull out. 172, had to pull out. Then he fought Josh Thompson, got a huge win there, and that was great. Then he was supposed to fight at UFC 176, had to pull. The event was canceled, actually. Then he was scheduled to fight at UFC Fight Night 47. Had that fight pulled out from him. Then he was scheduled to fight George Masvidal at 178. That got switched. Then he was supposed to fight Donald Cerrone. That got switched. And he ended up not fighting at 178. Then he was supposed to get that fight again with Masvidal that they scheduled at UFC Fight Night 63. That didn't happen. Ally Quinta, UFC Fight Night 71. That didn't happen. He tore his ACL. In the Masvidal fight, he tore his quad. It's just been – and then UFC Fight Night 96 against Josh Berkman. That didn't happen. He withdrew for personal issues. He has had so many scheduled fights that he's had to pull out of. I am not confident that this fight will even happen.
Yeah. It's like his body breaks down just before it's time to get in the ring.
Well, I feel like that is what I feel like when he came to the UFC, he was in good shape. Not good shape, like his body physically was in good shape, like he didn't have a lot of injuries, and I just think that wear and tear has caught up with him, and his body is just falling apart. So that is part of the reason why I think he's going to face his 4th loss in a row. That and the fact that he's fighting a guy who is very dynamic, and I'm a big fan of. The next fight, Will Brooks and Nick Lentz. Any thoughts?
I'm pulling up Will Brooks, but
Nick Lentz we got to see at UFC 203. Right. We got to hang out with him. He didn't have he did fight that night. This is telling me that it was canceled, but he was scheduled to originally fight someone else. He fought Michael McBride at UFC.
That's right, yes.
And got the win, and has fought since then at UFC 208 and lost a unanimous decision. So he's coming off a loss against Will Brooks, who is also coming off a loss, back-to-back losses. He's
to the Oliveras.
Yep, to the Oliveras. Yep. Both the Oliverases are pretty tough guys. But facing Nick Lentz is a different. I think Nick Lentz is a much different fighter than either one of the Oliveras. And so, although he's scrappy and tough, I don't see it being as difficult of a fight for him.
So what is your prediction?
My prediction is Will Brooks gets a victory. I'm going to go with a unanimous decision.
I would say ditto to all the reasons that you picked, except I'm going with Nick Lentz on this one, and I'm going with split.
You are the king of split decision.
Well, no, Bobby Green is the king, but I didn't pick him.
Bobby. All right, moving on. We have Tom Duquesnoy versus Cody Stamann. And Duquesnoy's both these guys are 15-1. I honestly don't remember. They both have fought in the UFC one time. I don't recall their fights, although I did watch them because I watch every fight. But I can tell you that taking a look at Duquesnoy, he's very impressive. He did fight a lot of fights in Bama. Or is that – no, I'm lying. He did not. It was Stamann that fought in Bama. Let me just double-check that. Yeah, he fought a lot in Bama and was very successful. And now his opponent, Stamann, also fought in Bama and was successful there. Both these guys, Duquesnoy is 24 years old, has a great future ahead of him. Stamann is a little bit older at 27. And, yeah, I think both these guys are solid guys. Both have fought on one UFC fight, so they got that UFC jitters out of the way. And, yeah, so what are your thoughts on this fight?
I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I don't know much about either one of them, but I'm looking at Stamann's stats. And if I just go based on stats, I still can't make an educated pick on this. So this one's just going to be purely off the cuff. And I like the name Cody, so I'm going with Stamann.
Well, I thought you would say I'm going with Cody. I mean, I know that's the same guy, but
yeah,
you could say since I like the name Cody, I'm going with Cody. Now there's that noise again, and it's gone. So you are taking Stamann. Where are you taking him at?
I'm gonna say. I mean, he's got. I'm gonna go with decision.
Unanimous or no? You only do split. I'm calling that for you. Split decision.
I'm going with unanimous.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm taking Duquesnoy, and I'm going to say that he chokes him out. I'm going to go rear naked choke, or I don't really have to call it, but it will be a choke. In the rear naked choke, let's go round 2. All right.
It's dangerous.
That's the tough fight, I think, to kind of talk about because, you know, those guys are going to make their mark now. and we're going to remember it from this point on. But moving on, Dariush. We got
Dariush
versus Evan Dunham. Break it down for me, Sahara.
All right, so Evan Dunham is on a 4-fight win streak. They've all come by decision, but prior to that, he was on a 3-fight skid. He definitely got things turned around. His most recent victory was not too long ago, which is a year ago, September of last year. This is at Poirier Johnson Fight Night against Rick Glenn. Whereas Dariush has he's been kind of up and down his past 4 fights. I believe he lost his – yes, he did lose his last one to Edson Barboza. It was a knockout. It was I believe it was a knee. I feel like this one was one of those highlight reel.
It was a knee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and he lost to Michael Casilla after he won 2 fights in between and lost to Mike Casilla.
Yeah, I can never pronounce his name right. Is that how you say it? I don't know if it was Chiese or Chisea or how you said it. Casilla.
You say Casilla, I say Chisilla.
Yeah, but I mean, he does. Dariush got some big names on his on the win list.
Yeah, he's beat Michael Johnson, Jim Miller.
Yeah.
He has an impressive resume when you look at his wins. He scatters in some losses though, which is the tough part. And Dunham's been around for, it seems like, forever.
It does. It seems like he's been around for a long time. And in reality, he has, because we're going all the way back to
2009 was where he made his UFC debut.
Yeah. So he's been around 8 years, and 2007 is when he made his splash into professional MMA. So with that said, though, I think Dunham is going to continue his win streak with victory number 5 in a row, and I'm going to go with his favorite, and I'm going to go with a unanimous decision.
Okay, I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm taking Dariush, and I'm thinking that Dariush is going to put Dunham on his derriere. Get it? See how I did that? Was that? I mean,
put him on his Dariush.
Did you see how that worked?
That was nice.
Yeah, it was. He has not lost 2 fights in a row. He usually comes back stronger. I'm going to think that is the case here as well. And I'm going to take Dariush via...
Don't do it.
Unanimous decision.
That's copycat.
No, I think the opposite guy. Okay. So, see, the problem is, I think that Dunham is good enough to avoid a finish, but I think that he's going to get the decision. All right, moving on, we have Fabricio, the troublemaker Werdum.
This one to me is kind of an odd
Let's not
matchup.
talk about the fight yet. Let's talk about Fabricio. Did you see him in
Ferguson?
Yeah.
The guy he's a loose cannon, and I'm talking about Fabricio. Werdum. Yeah, I don't. Is he losing it? Has he taken too many strikes to the head?
I don't know what is going on with him. I mean, we spent time with him, and he was a great, friendly guy, jovial, just a nice guy over the course of three days.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went out and acted like a buffoon in the cage.
Yeah.
And post-fight at UFC 203. And he has been erratic, not erotic. Please, Fabricio, do not get hey, you never know. With Fabricio, he could start getting erotic, but he's been erratic this is the same guy that beat Fedor Emelianenko when Fedor Emelianenko was unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like a cartoon character.
Yeah, it's odd. I was actually watching a couple of fights of his last night.
Yeah.
And the last fight that I watched was against Big Nog. And it's just, he showed respect for him before the fight, even, to some extent, during the fight, in between rounds, and after the fight, he was gracious in victory. It was odd to see him acting that way in the octagon, and then the first time that I got to see him fight live and then meet him in person is not the same guy that we saw, in the octagon and, when he fought against Travis Brown. So it's 2 fights in a row where he comes out with that running, flying jump kick. I don't even know what to call it.
Is it called insanity? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But the difference is he did not try to kick Alistair Overeem's coach after the fight.
Okay, so he stopped there.
Yeah.
He started the fight the same way.
So he's actually improving his behavior.
So he's getting it out of the way now as opposed to once he steps into the octagon.
But he's also picking fights with guys that weigh 80 pounds less than him, like at media days.
And that's wrong?
Because he had to make up for not trying to kick Alistair Overeem's manager.
Coach, yeah.
Coach. Why did I say manager? Okay, so moving on, Derrick Lewis, he's also coming off a loss. That's what UFC does. I mean, if you've ever looked at UFC matchmaking, they take guys that have won most recently, and they match them up almost all the time. It's two guys that have won their last fight each other, and 2 guys that have lost their last fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the matchmaking works. So Derrick Lewis is also coming off that loss to Mark Hunt in June when he said he was going to retire after that, and then he realized like he can't make this kind of money anywhere else. So here he is.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts?
As I really like Derrick Lewis just for his ferociousness, that he's got that one shot, potentially deadly punching power. Fabricio's got that. He's got that like crazy glazed, glassy-eyed look in the ring now, and I think this is an odd matchup, because we know Lewis and his stamina or lack thereof.
Let's wrap this up. What are you going to say?
I'm going with Fabricio, and I'm going with a TKO. I'm going to say first round.
What?
Yeah, I just think that he's going to come in.
He can lose.
I think he's just going to come straight for him and try to fight through any punches.
That's how he loses.
Well,
he does that. That's my analysis. So here, let me give my quick analysis because this is what I was already going to say. If Fabricio Werdum comes into this fight trying to the same thing he did with Stipe, it's going to be
knocked
the
out,
same result. It's going to be the same exact result. However, he is just as dynamic as Derrick Lewis is with his knockout power, his one-punch power. Fabricio Werdum is way more dominant on the ground against Lewis than Lewis is on the feet. I mean, he is head and shoulders above anything that Lewis could ever do. So if he takes Lewis down, Lewis has zero chance. None. Mm-hmm. He will submit him, guaranteed. Now, that being said, do I think that Fabricio Werdum will definitely have that game plan? Unfortunately not. I think he should. I think he probably will. I'm not convinced he will. I think the only way he loses is by doing what you said he would do. I think if he does what you're saying he's going to win by, I think he's going to lose. However, I do think he's going to take the fight down. I do think he's going to get Lewis on his back, and I think he's going to submit him. So I'm going to say this is a second round submission for Fabricio.
Okay. Yeah, there's just one thing I wanted to add, and that is...
And I'm going to go
Kimura.
I'm trying to figure... let's go with
That's a big guy to get a Kimura on.
Dude, Fabricio Werdum's jiu-jitsu is so much better than most heavyweights.
Oh, yeah. He's wicked with it.
It's I don't think Mir is as good as Werdum with the jiu-jitsu. But I'm going to say, let's go rear naked. That's the old one.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see that happening. I'm still sticking with so what I wanted to say before,
or I think get him to he could ground and pound, get his back and just ground and pound him, tap.
Yeah, see, that's what I think he's going to do, just to because I think he feels that he could easily submit him, but he wants to instead impose his will and his show his striking power and let Derrick Lewis feel that, because Lewis is known for the very same. So I think he wants to, not that he needs to make a statement, but I think he wants to, send a message to Derrick Lewis. I do think it's going to the ground, and I think it may start off with that insanity rush at the beginning of the round, right?
I'm counting on it, and that's gonna. I actually think that Lewis could be counting on that too, and just be waiting with a haymaker.
Yeah,
because that's not a smart thing to leave both feet. Anyway, ask Andrei Arlovsky if you should leave both feet in a fight. Mighty Mouse Johnson here versus Ray Borg. If you have not listened to our podcast for very long and you want to hear an in-depth analysis of the way we think this fight's going to go, just go back a couple episodes when we previewed UFC 215. We gave you super in-depth analysis. I'm not going to do that again. However, what I will do is make our predictions and briefly say Ray Borg is not ready for what he's about to get into. He's a great young fighter, and he's going to be very good. And he is way in over his head on this fight. That being said, I'm going to take Demetrious Johnson. First round, yes. However he wants to end the fight. I'll say it's a yes.
Yes.
Kimura.
I could see that happening. You say first round. I think I don't even remember what I said.
Yeah,
when
I don't
we first picked this.
I don't remember what I picked. I just knew I picked like Demetrious pretty easily.
All right, so
he could lay back and not be aggressive at all, and that's the only way it would go far. His skill level is just so high. He's at the top of his game. He's peaking. He has the experience. He's been in there with the best of the best and just gotten better and better and better. And now he finishes fights, and he's just unless he has a brain fart, I think he takes this easily.
So just looking at, going back and looking at his method of victory. Most recently, it was an armbar submission. Prior to that was the Tim Elliott scare, I guess you could say, where he still won, and it was a unanimous decision. Against Cejudo, it was TKO. Dodson was UD. Then we've got armbar submission, Kimura. There's another decision, a knockout, an armbar. So he does like to go for the arm and the submission. There's guillotines in there. He's got a couple of knockouts.
Let me show you. Let's just talk about odds in his fights. Let's go back to Benavidez fight, the Benavidez fight in 2013 in December. He was a minus 145. His next fight, he was minus 700. His next fight, minus 1,600. His next fight, minus 900. His next fight, minus 620, minus 350, minus 1,000, minus 850. Those are unheard of betting odds.
Where's he at on this one?
I have no idea. It should be at that 1600 range that it was against Chris Carreso back in 2014. I would say it should be around there. Okay, what does Borg have going for him? He's young.
His paycheck?
Well, no, I think he doesn't know what he doesn't know yet, right? So he has a confidence that he can win this fight that I think that most guys probably haven't had with – he's young and he's like, oh, I'm going to – you know how when you're young and you just don't know what you don't know? And so I think he has that, but that's the only thing. I think he's going to have a hard weight cut. I think fighting too light, he needs to – he's 24 years old and he doesn't make weight regularly. He needs to be fighting at 135 and he's fighting at 125. That's what I have to say. I think I also, having said that, think that he could be a champion someday, but just not this day.
So, if with weight cut sometimes being an issue for him, if his natural weight is at 135, he's got a tough road ahead of him to take a belt from somebody, because who's standing in his way in the 135 division. I mean, that division's stacked.
You mean TJ?
Yeah.
He's not.
Well, you think Borg and Dillashaw, Borg comes out on top?
No, I'm saying that TJ's not going to be the champion of the division.
Oh, no. I just meant
anytime soon.
Yeah, so when you were saying that, I thought you were saying somebody he would have to go through.
No, I was saying like it would be hard to win a belt because he would be the champion. I was joking because Cody, I'm saying, needs to be the champion for a long time because he represents Pittsburgh.
This is true.
He might not say it more, but we'll take it anyway. Okay, what's your prediction? Let's move on to the last.
Yeah, I'm going with I'm going to say
Borg,
first round
Borg.
Kimura.
That's what I said.
I didn't hear you say Kimura because I thought that I was saying the different types that he had.
You are that's a wash now. Oh, you're the worst. Hi, I'll just say whatever. Hi, hey Ryan, what do you have written? I have Ryan, DJ, first round Kimura. Okay, that's what I'll take then. Oh. Okay, moving on. We have the main event of the evening and the fight that I'm pretty fired up for this fight. We have Tony El Kukui Ferguson versus – why are you laughing?
Oh, no reason. What's his nickname?
Is that wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I like the way that you say it.
Versus Kevin.
What's his nickname?
See, I've never heard this. Have you ever heard him with a nickname? It says the Motown Phenom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I knew he was from Motown, but I
thought you were going to give me another one for Ferguson.
Oh no, we've moved on from Ferguson.
You're moving on now.
We've moved on from El Kukui.
You don't like him anymore.
Who do you like in this fight?
I'm going to make this nice and easy. I'm going with Ferguson.
You're going to have to elaborate. I mean, at least say how he wins. And this is a 5-rounder. I think it's going to be a barn burner and split decision, but I think Ferguson's going to come out on top. Split decision?
Yep.
The king of them. How many?
I'm going to go with a majority split.
You're the worst.
Well, how about a split draw?
I am going to say Tony Ferguson via ground and pound TKO he's going to get his back, and he's going to pound him out in the third round.
I'm going to hold you to that.
He's going to get his back, and he's going to make him pay for all the things that he said to make this fight happen.
Now, see, they've been nice to each other. There hasn't been any animosity here.
Do you remember the well, that's because he has a fight with a 240-pounder instead.
It overshadowed him.
Don't you remember how this all started?
I don't.
This all started when the Kevin Lee beat Michael Casilla, and he was being interviewed by the studio.
Yes.
And Tony Ferguson was in the studio and was basically telling him, like, you got a decent future, kid, but you got a long way to go before. And now they're fighting each other.
I do recall that now.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to you, Jim. I'll bring it back. I mean, I know in your old age, you kind of, struggle.
It was the Oklahoma card, wasn't it?
Oklahoma is okay.
Okay. I think it was OKC.
Oh, for real? So, Jim, a fight card that I am looking forward to, and I think that you're looking forward to as well, is the Bellator 186 fight card.
This is true.
So here's the cool thing. When you got regional MMA and you got national MMA and you just love MMA, and then the UFC comes to town, and nobody on the regional scene gets a sniff of a fight on the UFC card. And then Bellator comes through, and they do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
They do it where they bring the local talent, they put them on the platform, they say, go make, get this town excited, get this area excited for this fight. And guess what? We are excited for Bellator 186 coming to State College. It's 2.5 hours away, and I'm far more excited for this fight card than I was I was excited for UFC coming to Pittsburgh, but not like I am for Bellator 186, where we will see 4 local fighters and an additional fighter from Altoona, which is about 2 hours from here and about an hour from State College, or half hour from State College. We will see those 5 fighters, be on this card, and there's 10 announced fights so far, and we have a vested interest in 5 of those fights. And that's not including Ryan Bader being on the card against Linton Vassell. Linton Vassell, yeah. Phil Davis,
yeah.
Penn State grad, a national, an All-American at Penn State. We have Ed Ruth, who's on the card, who's a Penn State grad, All-American. This is an exciting card. You have Zach Freeman coming back from his big upset win at UFC or Bellator 178 that we covered in Connecticut. So this is a fight. This is a card that we can certainly get excited about.
Yeah, we should try and get Zach Freeman on the podcast and maybe put together a little video montage, since Bellator did not do that for him in his fight, the lead up against Aaron Pico, because they really, really pushed him. He made that comment, and then he went out and took care of business.
Pico. They're still pushing Pico, and they should.
Yeah.
But they didn't ease him in either. They put him up against a guy who has a ton of MMA experience, who's a very good fighter, and he got humbled in his first experience. But we have on this card, we have Olamide McFarland, who is a very, very marketable young lady who is, I believe, undefeated. And we have our Pittsburgh guys. We have Dominic Mazzotta, the Honey Badger. We have Francis Healy, Mike Wilkins, and Chris Dempsey all on this card. And guess what? Everything that the UFC failed to do, as far as from a regional and excitement standpoint, I'm curious to see how many fans are in the Bryce Jordan Center for this card. The UFC was only able to get about 7,000 fans. Now, there were other factors. There were other factors involved with the UFC card, being that the Triple G Canelo fight was the same night. However, I don't know. I mean, what did you lose? 500 in attendance? I don't know. That's hard to say. I don't think it would be anything insane.
No, I agree, Ryan. I don't think that that they did right by Pittsburgh. There was, they had the chance to have Mark Cherico on that card. We talked about this before. He could have brought some people in. Anybody that they might have lost to that boxing match. I think Cherico's falling would have doubled that. So if they would have lost 100, he would have brought in 300. So
yeah,
go
ahead.
His name locally is a strong one, and he's got a following.
Absolutely. The other fighter that is from Altoona that we are excited to see in the Bellator cage is Ethan Goss, who will be making his Bellator debut. The Dempsey, who has fought in the UFC, has a win in the UFC, but he's also making his Bellator debut. Francis Healy, Bellator debut. Mike Wilkins, Bellator debut. Dominic Mazzotta this is his second fight, and this is a fight at his natural weight at 135, as opposed to him fighting up just to get the opportunity in the Bellator cage at 145 when he made his debut, and things didn't go as planned. This is an exciting fight. We actually, at Octagon 24/7, got the call from Isaac Greeley, who is the head coach at the Mat Factory right here in the Pittsburgh area. We got the call from him. He said, hey, listen, we are having a big training session with some other gyms out in Altoona. And we went out there this past weekend. There will be stuff coming on the website. I know you guys, a lot of you are very much into the regional MMA scene here in Western Pennsylvania. You will see more and more of that stuff on the website and on our social media and on YouTube as time progresses, as we lead into Bellator 186, which we will be covering live and in person. Jim Sahara Mooney and myself, we are excited for that, and really looking forward to. We spent time with Ethan Goss and all the Pittsburgh guys out in Altoona. We'll have more on that, and as we lead up to Bellator 178. The other thing 186 is what I actually said, but for some reason all ears heard otherwise. The other thing I wanted to talk about,
not true,
briefly before we wrap up here, as we're about out of time. We wanted to talk about, Jim, you mentioned this as we were getting ready to get on the air, just, having politics invade our sports world and how things have gotten to a point where you can't get away from politics. I mean, I watched the football games last weekend, and there was all this talk about politics, and I just got sick of it and didn't want to hear it anymore. I get enough of that when I can control it, and I want to control how much politics I hear. And when it starts becoming a part of every sports or NFL broadcast, I'm out. What are your thoughts? You're on mute or something.
Yeah, I was on mute. I apologize because I was coughing. Sports all by itself, without adding anything, any external forces to it, can be polarizing all in its own. I mean, if we just look at the NFL by itself, we've got Deflategate and Spygate. That's just with New England, and there's a lot of fans.
Oh, are you referring to 2-2 New England?
See, I didn't even know.
Yeah,
I did not even know.
They got beat by whoever they played yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, that has got to be the best news of the day.
Yeah, they're 2-2.
Yeah,
I didn't watch any football yesterday or this.
Yeah, no. So you and I talked. We've mentioned this a couple times. I, for different reasons, stopped committing my time on Sundays to watching the games. And, I was going to, I would peek in, maybe watch for a little bit, just in and out. But this year I haven't watched anything. And so what happened with the protests for me is kind of what really sealed the deal. Because like you said, Ryan, I want to watch the game. I don't care what somebody's beliefs are away from the field. Aside from them being involved in murder and obstruction of justice and, something like that.
Or community, if they're doing good things in the community or, their previous service to our country or things like that. But
yeah, but you know what, even with that, to me, that's external because, military service, I'm all for the military, but that again can be political because you've got, liberals who say we spend too much money on the military. On the right side, Republicans and conservatives want to push for more spending. So, stuff like that. I'm happy. I'm glad that guys, feel that calling to go out and serve the country. But can you put somebody on their butt? And if you can, is that going to open up a hole for the running back? That's all I care about. And if you're doing good in the community, kudos to you. But I just want to see a football game. I just want to watch a baseball game. I just, and now,
the majority of the blame goes to the owners who allowed this to happen. And guess what? You may not care about me personally, but there's other people that feel the same way as me, and collectively, I think you've turned a lot of people off, and me being one of them. Leave politics out of sports. End of story. Any closing shots there, Sarah?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily closing shots, but there may be a time when I do go back to watching. But the one thing that it's got to be for me from now on is that sports isn't going to be a priority. Our family, me and my wife, we really love baseball. We like going to the games. The Pirates, haven't had a good run of success the past 2 years. Prior to that, 3 years running was really exciting. So we look forward to that stuff. We can go to a Pirate game and not worry about politics too much, really getting in the way. So it's just going to be coming down to, does the family want to do something? Do we have any plans for Sunday? If not, then maybe I'll tune in. And that's just the way it's going to go for me from now on.
You mean sports with the exception of mixed martial arts?
There you go. As a matter of fact, Octagon 24/7 put out a tweet that Saturdays are made for MMA. We had a lot of coverage of that. If you didn't get a chance to see it, go to our Twitter page. We've got a lot of stuff posted up there. We've got some stuff also on our Instagram page if you want to see some of the coverage we had of that training session.
Dude, your volume is all over the place. I don't know what you're doing with your microphone, but it is not sounding too good. Anyway, like our Twitter page, all of our social media stuff. We have stuff on YouTube, and we're going to be releasing some footage of this training session we're talking about, where 4 Bellator fighters and a bunch of training partners were all helping each other out at Gorilla House Gym in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And what a great gym that is. Very impressive. If you are anywhere, if you're training MMA and you're anywhere near the Gorilla House Gym or Altoona, I would strongly advise you go check out that gym. They just moved. I think their grand opening was either today or yesterday, and a phenomenal gym there.
Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you for Jason to Jason Dignan for the hospitality that he showed to us, to the crew of Octagon 24/7, going up there, giving us a tour of the facilities. It is a top-notch. If somebody wants to hone their skills for MMA, grappling, jiu-jitsu, this is the place to go. Move to Altoona. They got stuff. They got a gym ready to go for you. Take your career to the next level. I promise you this place is going to help you get there.
Yeah, Jason was a great guy. He's the head coach there, and they literally just moved across town to this phenomenal facility at the Gorilla House Gym. And so, check out the stuff there. And that being said, we are all out of time. We are so glad you joined us. On behalf of Jim Sahara-Mooney, this is Ryan Middleton thanking you and signing off, saying good night and God bless.